MCA TV for ECPM 2016. We are here with Mr. Austin Ugwumadu. Mr. Welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel.
We just want to say that you are from St. George's University Hospital in London, and we would like to dedicate a few words to talk about the role of monitoring in labor, especially to avoid cerebral palsy in children.
Yes. Well, the first thing to say is we have a problem with babies that already have incurred problems before they come into labor. And the tools for monitoring we have quite often just focus on monitoring their fetal heart rate. Now, that is not often sensitive enough to pick up those babies that already have problems before they come into labor. Sometimes we're able to detect it, but most times we're not, which means that we then monitor babies that already have problems, and then during labor, we make some of those problems worse than they really are. Current fetal monitoring tools can only focus on babies that don't have problems by the time they come into labor. And we can, by just monitoring their fetal heart rate, sometimes applying other technologies like fetal blood sample or fetal ECG monitoring to identify the ones that are genuinely running into problems because of the challenges of labor.
Okay.
I think it's important to stress that changes in the fetal heart rate occur very commonly during labor, and that does not necessarily mean that the baby is in trouble. Unfortunately, 40, 50 years ago, when fetal heart rate monitoring was first introduced, the assumption was that if the heart rate falls, that means that the baby is in trouble.
Okay.
But we now know that more than 90% of those variations in fetal heart rate don't necessarily mean that the baby is in trouble.
Great.
So the challenge we have is how best to identify the babies whose changes in fetal heart rate actually signal important problems and then do something about it. That is the challenge we currently have. There is a flip side to our inability to identify correctly the babies that have problems during labor. And that flip side is that we end up delivering babies that don't need to be delivered. And that is usually at the expense of operative intervention. So if you look at since fetal heart rate monitoring was introduced, cesarean section rate has also gone up. It's very expensive. It can cause problems for the mother. Sometimes may even interfere with the ability to have further children in future or lead to other complications. So our inability to monitor babies correctly during labor has two problems. One of which is we can miss important problems. The other side is we tend to operate on babies and women that don't need those operations, which means health cost is much more and sometimes increased morbidity for the women.
Okay, thank you.